when that motion starts to happen there, your door is definitely going to have rattles, creaks. You can see the corrosion that we're getting. These bushings that we put in there eliminate all of that fitment issue. Morning there. Alan here at Red Summit Machineworks. We're going to be doing a quick little install on a set of our heavy-duty JK rear tire swing-out hinges. They replace the problematic hinges on a factory JK that do get loose over time, causing misalignment in your swing-out, especially if you've got a larger than average tire or other things mounted on that tire carrier. Also, you're going to find that we might encounter some corrosion in here, so we're going to provide a solution for that at the same time. Just give you a few more years of trouble-free service out of your JK. We think it's a good product. Hopefully you do as well. So, pretty simple install. We're going to use some pneumatic tools today, but they're not necessary by any means. The tool you may not have is a T50 Torx tool. It's the same tool that you use to remove the doors though, so you should have one on hand if you own a JK, so that's kind of handy. Other than that, we've got some ratchets, extensions, a couple sockets, an Allen head wrench, but nothing out of the ordinary. A little bit of anti-seize here. WD-40 just to facilitate loosening that hardware if it's been on there the whole never been loosened. And then that's about it. So we're gonna get this install started and we'll go. So step one, we have to remove the plastic covers. We gotta remove it from the hinge side as well as the mounting side. So it's pretty straightforward. You squeeze in here, give it a nice tug. That one should come right off. No breakage. Same thing on the bottom. Done. You have a little bit of a prying tool in here. I like to wrap our tools in tape to protect paint. Just pry up on this outer edge here. This should come right off. Same thing on this top hinge. And you're good to go. We're going to do one hinge at a time, and that's just going to help us maintain the alignment on the door. So hopefully we don't have too much adjustment work to do here at the end. It is a 13mm socket. Loosen these two bolts. And you do need to swing the hinge out before you loosen the Torx bolts in here. That's all there is to it. You can see we've got a little bit of corrosion here on this JK. What I would recommend doing is taking the time to possibly clean that up, tape this area off completely, and put a coat of primer or black paint, something that kind of matches your vehicle. Hopefully you shouldn't be able to see it. This isn't too bad, it's mostly on the surface, but it's definitely there. So that's something that we will address with the customer, because you don't want that there long term. You will rust completely through this swing gate and this mounting point. We've got a lot bigger issues there down the road. The top hinge does have the vehicle brand in it, and also is the thinner of the two gaskets that we include. We include that gasket to help prevent this type of corrosion. It's going to keep the metal on metal wear down. You're not going to wear through that paint layer that hopefully you reinstall, and it's going to also give you one more level of protection on vibration. The bushings that we include are an oil impregnated bronze sintered bushing, which means it's actually been sintered together and then infused with oil in the pores of the metal. So this thing should be a very long life, easy maintenance. They are replaceable if you do happen to wear them out. I don't suspect that will ever be the case, but it's a very good product. It's going to provide a nice, smooth motion for this tire gate. So, step one, we need to start our 3 bolts here. Because of this corrosion, we're going to use a little anti-seize on these bolts. That's going to keep the threads clean, make sure we don't get any galling. Once you open the stuff, it gets everywhere, so all bets are off. And you don't need a lot. A little goes a long ways. This job's a little easier if you can find a way to do it where you don't have to remove the hinge. We send them out assembled. They are loose. We're going to make our final adjustment to these bolts after everything's nice and tight. But getting everything lined up is a little bit easier if we can do it with those in place. Always start all of your hardware by hand. That's going to prevent cross-threading. And once you've got the first few threads started, you can go ahead and snug these up however you want. We're just going to get them slightly snug for now. We don't want them tight yet. We may need some adjustment here. So as soon as you feel resistance, okay. We're going to go ahead and make sure everything's lined up well enough that we can get our bolts over here. There is quite an adjustment built into these things. If you find that you can't get it to line up, loosen your bolts just slightly and everything should slide around nice. After we've got these 3 bolts started, we want to start to close the hinge. Make sure that we've still got our alignment with the original door. If you pull one hinge at a time, the door shouldn't shift, but in the event that it does, you may have to spend some extra time here going back and forth to make sure that everything lines up. Your door is riding in a place that it is supposed to be, and it's not common or not uncommon to see these drop down when the bushings and whatnot in here have started to worn, and you can see that this is, corrosion is pretty bad in here. So we've got quite a bit of play. So our door may be out of alignment quite a bit. So we'll snug everything up. Hopefully close our hinge. Looks like we've got pretty good alignment there. Once you have these 3 bolts in and your hinge lines up, you can look through these holes and see your factory holes. The hinge should be pretty horizontal, parallel with your tailgate. Again, you may have to make some adjustments here, especially if your tailgate is sagged on this side, which is not uncommon. So go back and forth a few times if necessary. Get it right. We can go ahead and get these bolts started. You just firm them up. We don't want everything really tight until we make our final adjustments. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom hinge here real quick. Run these down with our impact real quick. Check our alignment. Look pretty good about there. Everything's nice and horizontal. We'll snug these up. Check one more time. Look good. Once you've got the 3 bolts on the hinge installed, you can go ahead and install the thicker gasket that we include on the right hand side. It goes on the lower hinge to account for the difference in the recess on the swing gate from the bottom to the top. It just helps keep everything in alignment. Give me a nice smooth motion when we're done. Once we've got all of our bolts started, we can go ahead and tighten these up. They need to be firm and not overly tight. Now, before we open the door, we need to make our final adjustment. We're actually going to tighten this bolt up now. We send them out loose so that you've got that adjustment built in so you can get everything aligned nice and easily. It's a 3/16 Allen head and a 1/2 inch end wrench. We want them to be tight, but not so tight that we might cause any sort of binding. We are squeezing these bushings together. We're taking out any amount of that last slop. It is a nylock bolt, so it's going to stay torqued wherever you put it. Once that's turned up, check everything. Everything looks good. Don't see any binding. We should be able to open the door. Should behave nice and smooth. Come out here, we have no play. That's what we were hoping to eliminate. Seamless close. From there you can go ahead and reinstall your spare tire, and you should be set for many years of trouble-free use on your hinges.